Hi, in this tutorial, we'll explain the domain knowledge. Now, in most of the cases, the dialect scenarios aren't just enough. You may run a few mock dialects and then let the AI to learn from it. And it works well when the tasks are quite simple and straightforward, like collecting some data, like collecting some information about the users. And in the previous example, we've given the example with the tournament. But in most of the cases, users are seeking for more complex information, for more complex data. So that's why you can't just create a lot of dialect scenarios, but instead we will use the domain knowledge. The domain knowledge is a knowledge and instructions that help AI to understand the task, to process it, and therefore minimize the dialect samples, the dialect scenarios. You can't just have hundreds and hundreds of dialect scenarios, but instead you can use the domain knowledge. Now, if you do remember from the previous example, the valid email address. Now, when I tried to enter the invalid email address, it actually showed that it's not valid. Can you please provide the valid one? And this is actually where it came from the domain knowledge. In that particular example, the instruction was given to accept only valid email address. Now, you shouldn't underestimate the ability of the AI. You can think of AI as a human being. So when you want a human being, your manager of a call center, to process some information, you actually provide some information, the data, the knowledge, so that when the call center manager responds to the user, it actually relies on that particular knowledge. And this is the place where that knowledge is actually secured and stored. Now let's give an instruction. Let's say that any question that is beyond that FAQ shouldn't be answered. So we will use some FAQ. Every organization has FAQ, and we're going to use these FAQs. Okay, so this is just a sample of FAQ. Okay, there aren't that many questions. We can copy, and then we'll paste it here. So obviously, we have to put the question mark when there is a question, and make sure to put some space in between the questions so that the AI can understand that these are actually different questions and should be answered in different places. So let's save the changes. All right. Now let's go to the dialect scenarios. Dialect scenarios are not absolutely necessary, but it always enhances the accuracy when you do run a few dialect scenarios. We've already done it for you. So for example, let's take a look at them. So yeah, this is a default message that will pop in your widget or any other channel. We can edit it. We've shown it before already. So as a user, I just made up a question that was relevant to the FAQ, that was in the FAQ. I asked it and I answered from the FAQ, then ask another question and so on. So I've done it in two dialect scenarios. So in this particular example, again, what is Melon viewer? And there isn't any information about viewer in the FAQ. And that's why we said, sorry, we're unable to process this request because there is an instruction, not go beyond that FAQ. All right, so yeah, you can paraphrase the question. So we intentionally paraphrase the questions. The FAQ said, let's take a look, tax of melon, for instance. Yeah, what are the melon tax, for example? This is the original question. This is how it looks like. We actually paraphrased it and we said, what are the tax of melon? Because obviously the users won't ask only in a certain manner. they will paraphrase the question, they will ask it in a different way, and that's why we have to make sure that the AI actually understands the question and responds correctly. All right. Once we've done that, we finish the dialog so that it runs it, and then let's go to the home page. Let's go to the home page and test the chatbot. Okay, let's restart. Okay, let's start over. So this is the default question. All right. So yeah, this is the default question. Let's take a look at the FAQ. So let's ask any question. User sign up. Okay, let's ask a question. How do I sign up? Let's take a look at this one. Okay, so it gives the proper answer after invitation has been sent, but there isn't actually a question that exactly looks like this. How do I sign up? The original question in our FAQ looks like this: user sign up. It doesn't ask how do I sign up. What wearables can I connect with Melon? Let's take a look at this question. Wearables. Let's ask about wearables. What are the wearables? All right. Either Misfit or Fitbit. That's actually the answer that comes from FAQ. Yeah, we can continue, but the logic is the domain knowledge is quite an important feature because it allows to give answers and response to more complex and wide variety of tasks where the user can ask the question in a different way, and you give the instructions so that you do have a proper answer. And that's about the domain knowledge.